I recently found a second-hand Roland R-8 for cheap. It was in pretty decent condition but without the power supply. And I discovered only later that the power supply on this Roland drum machine and on the Roland R-5 apparently is not a standard power supply like the one used in most electronic devices, but it uses a proprietary plus 10 and minus 10 volts PSU with an uncommon connector. I googled a bit and found some replacement power supplies, but they were about 60 or 70 euros each, and this is way too much, because this was just exactly what I paid for the Roland R-8, and I really didn't want to spend the same amount for just the PSU. So I had to Google a little bit more and found a very interesting solution on circuitbenders.co.uk, thanks by the way, which described how to use a small converter board to replace the original PSU. This is what you will need. A plus 10 and minus 10 voltage regulator. You can search for DC-DC buck step-down converter or similar. I found mine on eBay, but you can have a look also on Amazon or AliExpress. Check down in the description of the video. You will see some affiliate link. If you want to buy using them, I will get some bucks. Then you will need also standard thermal connectors and of course a suitable PSU, and any 12 volt should be okay. I used an old one I had lying around, and the board should be quite tolerant to higher voltages too. Then of course you will need some pieces of wire, and then of course solder arrows, solder, multimeter and drill. First you need to find a suitable place where to stick the small board. Luckily there's plenty of room in the inside, so I decided to use a hole in the main jack's PCB, and I simply used a 3mm screw and a nut. You can stick it on the bottom using double-sided tape, just avoid any contact between the bottom of the board and the metal plate. Secondly, you need to drill a hole for the new power supply socket. In my case I choose a standard round one, and I only needed to drill a 8mm hole. I decided to drill the hole just beside the original PSU socket. So maybe this was not the best idea, just because I also had to drill the metal plate behind the plastic, and because there was not so much room in the inside to operate and to screw it. But in the end it turned out pretty neat, also with the aid of some hot glue to help it stay in place. Then you will need to wire things up. Connect two wires from the new socket, the plus 12 volts and the GND, to the V-in or the input plus the positive input and the GND on the regulator board. Then, using a multimeter, check the voltages coming out from the V plus and the V minus pins on the board. Try to get as close as possible to plus 10 and 12 and minus 10. There are two small screws to adjust in order to get the correct voltages, but the R8 should work with just any value around 10. Then solder three wires from the V+, V- and GND from the board to the corresponding pins on the original power socket. Just be very careful here. The pins on the socket have incorrect labeling. Roland swapped the plus 10 V and the GND on the plastic enclosure of the R8, and apparently they corrected it on Mark II and R5. Just make sure to connect them correctly and double check one more time. And hopefully, after checking everything for a second time, and maybe a third, I connected the new 12 volts PSU, and this is the result.